Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soulful Hunter Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mack. Through this podcast, I'm on a mission to transform lives through primal adventure and to spread my mission of mentorship as conservation. This podcast is powered by Washington Backcountry, a resource for all hunters, both new and old. To find out more about Washington Backcountry, go to wabackcountry.com or search for Washington Backcountry on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. The Soulful Hunter Podcast is also proudly presented by the Crazy Elk Company. Based out of the state of Washington with products made in America, they are providing solutions with gear to problems you didn't even know you had. Their tag wallet is one of those solutions, and I had the pleasure of using it on all of my hunts this last year, and it is now a mainstay in my kill kit. The tag wallet is a water-resistant zippered pouch that comes with its own reusable zip ties to safely and securely store your notch tag for quick and easy access. For more information, go to crazyelkcompany.com and use the code SOULFUL with a capital S to save 20% at checkout. Be blessed, everyone, and as always, stay soulful. This podcast is also proudly brought to you by OnX Hunt. When I first got into hunting, I kept hearing all about public land and different access and how to find different locations to hunt. I was like, well, how are people even identifying all this stuff? Well, sure enough, I came across the number one hunting GPS app, and that is OnX Hunt. If you guys want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, OnX Hunt is the number one GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust OnX Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. It was a game changer for me, and I know it's going to be a game changer for you if you've never used it. If you have used it, you know the power that it holds. Guys, I really hope you enjoy this episode. If you want to know more about OnX, go to onxmaps.com/hunt and check out their app. Be blessed, freedom on, and stay soulful. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Just a reminder that we are going through a rebranding. So the Soulful Hunter Podcast is going to be switching up to Soul Seekers Podcast here in the month of September. And really excited for all that. Also, if you guys have not voted, remember, today is your daily reminder to go vote for my show, Soul Seekers, on Carbontv. It's up for the Best Show Open Award for the 2022 Carbon Awards. Carbontv.com. It'd mean the world to me if you guys could go vote and support the show. But just a reminder for all of you, this podcast is going to be shifting through a title change and brand continuity, lining up with the TV show as well as social media. So be on the lookout, Soul Seekers, as all of you are part of Soul Seekers Nation. Enjoy this episode. Talk soon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soulful Hunter Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mack, and today I am joined by a fellow beard warrior himself. If you are on social media or you follow Cryptech Camo at all, you would know exactly who I'm talking about. The man behind the beard and behind the camouflage, the VP of Operations, Justin Sparks, is here joining us to talk all about his journey and what he has gone through in his hunting career to where he is now working with Cryptech and everything that goes along with it. He is one of the men in this industry that his beard I truly admire. And if you know what I'm talking about, we'll make sure we have a picture of it on the social media post. But Justin, what's up, brother? How you doing tonight?
What's up, Johnny Mack?
Dude, how's life in Idaho right now?
It's hot.
Yes.
Way too hot. It doesn't feel like September's going to be here soon, and we're going to be chasing, some of our favorite animals this time of year. But yeah, it's hot here. Hot and busy.
Oh, hot and busy. Sounds like a good meal or a good drink. Good weekend drink. Hot and busy. Brother, how's life at Cryptech? You guys launched Skyfall, Obscura Skyfall. I think that is just absolute killer pattern.
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. We have so much awesome stuff going on. And the launch of the Skyfall pattern that we just came out with has just kept us hopping. But that pattern is awesome. If the listeners haven't seen it yet, I definitely would recommend checking it out. But, we always try to take, features and functions of real life and put it into our patterns. And, it's not only, a good looking pattern, it just functions. I got to use it on a spring bear hunt this year, which, you wouldn't necessarily, but I was in a tree stand and, to get that breakup silhouette of the whites in the pattern, it's incredible, like all our patterns, but this is definitely going to be one of my favorites.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw it and I was like, "Oh, baby!" I just got today in the mail. I was able to get my Grabo Phoenix gun stock, my rifle stock, dipped in Cryptek Obscura, and I'm loving it. And so that Obscura pattern, that's fire, big time.
Yeah, it's awesome. There's a lot of questions in the industry that people will call our patterns obscura or what really is it? And so I think I'll take a minute here and just try and, bring some information to the table on that. But, we have our original cryptic patterns, your Highlander, your Altitude, Mandrake, Wraith, our first section of patterns that we brought out. And as we were, in this process of looking at new patterns, we actually had a spec ops group out of Europe send a picture with some really cool shadow lines on Highlander, and asking, "Hey, can you guys look at this pattern? What do you think?" And that was really the concept behind Obscura. So Obscura is actually the family, the actual, camouflage pattern, and then the color palettes: Skyfall, Transitional, Knox. We have a whole bunch of water patterns as well in our new fishing line we launched this spring. But that's kind of the difference between the two. There's a cryptic flare in it, but the actual Obscura, which kind of comes from the tiger stripe, is now the macro pattern on it. It's really standing out. And we started testing this in 2018, I believe. And we did a photo shoot with some fabric. And, when I first saw Cryptic and met the team 10 years ago, just Josh and Butch, I was enamored with the pattern. I was like, wow, and then I got to try it. And I was like, people like, "Dude, can you wave your hand? I can't see you." Or you leave a hat on the ground or, a jacket and you spend an hour finding it. And then we bring out this Obscura, camouflage with different color palettes mixed in. And it's just incredible that this is the next level. I mean, they both blend really well, but when you get in the shadow lines and you get, into the trees and up in the trees, you just kind of morph into your environment.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful. Although I gotta say, the one huge knock that I have on Cryptek is that you guys don't make gaiters to match your camo patterns.
Well, we actually do. We've made our altitude gaiters, which were made out of the Sholler fabric, super breathable, high-end technical fabric. And then we had Highlanders. So we only had two, but landing here in about 3 weeks, we're going to have 4 new pattern and gaiters coming out. And just for all you solids lovers out there, we're going to do a dark charcoal. So we have a dark charcoal gray, which will really, mesh with some of our patterns like Altitude, and it'll even match with the new Skyfall pattern. But yeah, we'll have a new gator coming out here in about 3 weeks. It should land. It should be up first week of September. So
sweet. Dude, I think I talked about this on a different podcast one time. I'm a former quarterback. I played college football. There's something about like wanting to look good. I cannot stand mismatching camo patterns. I know it doesn't really matter, but that's why I'm like, dude, if I have altitude set and I got my altitude gaiters, I can't be putting my altitude gaiters on with my Obscura traditional. It just, dude, something. It's like you got to get your head game straight before you go out into the field.
I'm kind of that way as well. Of course, I get the luxury of being able to match because, I get to pick what I want to wear and, I get to, have, but that is one of my biggest pet peeves when I see multi-camo matching. And honestly, if you really look at it from a function standpoint, to have different colors, especially where animals don't see color, it doesn't really matter, but it just looks sharp. And, you did quarterback who want to make sure you look sharp. So we got you some gaiters.
I freaking love it. Yeah, man. It's the whole, look good, feel good, play good, right? It's like, you got to get your mind right and get into the kind of, what is it? My wife, she cracks it up. She always calls it, "Oh, you look so good in your outfit." Your outfit.
That's a good one. Your little hunting outfit to go chase your little animals.
Right. Thanks, babe.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I'm gonna remember that.
Yeah. So one of the things I was listeners, I was talking with Justin today. It's like when I wanted to partner up with any sort of camo company, I specifically went after Cryptech. Them as a company, they stand out from the rest with their beliefs, with what they stand for, how they carry themselves. And I'm like, dude, if I want to be associated with a company, Cryptech is it. And so today I was thinking, I was like, dude, this is Cryptech is backcountry to the battlefield, but it's really the people's camouflage. It's the people's
Yeah,
camouflage.
you were texting back and forth with me on that. I couldn't agree more. We're very patriotic. Our co-founders, Josh Cleghorn and Butch Whiting, I mean, they fought for our country. They protected this country so we all get the freedoms that we have today. And the people's camouflage, that definitely fits, man. We definitely create camouflage, because we love the hunting industry and we, want to make it that much easier for people. If it makes it 1% easier or 7% easier to be able to, reach your goal to harvest that, animal, whether it's a trophy animal or not, whatever you're chasing, you know, we're the camel for everyone.
That's right, baby. Let's go. Let's do it. Stand up and salute. You guys need to make an altitude pattern with this shirt. It says back to back World War champs on it.
That's awesome.
Put that on that shirt that you're wearing.
We've got a whole bunch of new t-shirts coming. It's been a while since we've launched a round of new t-shirts, but that's another big initiative that we've been working on. Josh Cleghorn is just his ability to design and really come up with cool stuff like that is just next level. And we've got all kinds. There's going to be little birds and Apaches and then, a lot of patriotic stuff, but also just really cool, clean Cryptic t-shirts.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, I got to rep your brand, right? We're all walking billboards to some brand, right? You might as well rep the brands that you really love.
Absolutely. I wear it every day. Live it, eat it, breathe it.
Beautiful. I love it. So Justin, let's talk a little bit about your history within hunting. Where are you from? How did you get into hunting?
I was born into it, luckily. My dad was, where I learned everything until I was 18. I grew up, I can't remember a time I didn't go hunting. I was my father's son. He used to take me on his back when I was little, and every chance he got. So I grew up with not knowing any different. I mean, hunting is, in my soul. It's a lifestyle. And part of the reason I came to work for Cryptic is lifestyle by design. And the my grandfather owned an outfitting business in southeastern Idaho. I grew up in southeastern Idaho down there, and it was an incredible, bringing up, especially in today's world. And we didn't have social media, we didn't have all those things, all these distractions that we have nowadays. So I was able to help pack in, on my grandfather's outfitting business. I was able to hunt with my dad. He was a school teacher as well. So just like he taught school for 29 years. And so Friday night after football, we'd get thrown in the back of the truck with sleeping bags and he would drive us to camp and we would hunt from, dark 30 Saturday morning until, dark Sunday night. And so, I just was very lucky to be brought up the way that I, was brought up inside hunting.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, I have a question for you. You're a father of how many kids?
I have 4 kids.
4 kids. So I am a father of 3 boys, and I met one of your boys, Zane, at the Hunt Expo this last February. Um, I'm struggling right now with the ability to. I want to teach my oldest because he's 7 years old. This December he'll be 8, and I feel like this fall I'm going to take him on a youth hunt, and really work through that. And I have my other 2 boys that are like constantly right there and wanting to learn, but yet they're distracting or getting in the way or not listening very well. As a father who has gone through this, do you have any advice or experience that you can talk about in regards to what age it is that you start to get your kids into it, or how do you go about, this learning process with your kids?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, just like what my dad did. I mean, we camped all summer. I mean, so we were scouting. I don't remember a time that I wasn't integrated into it. And I did the same with my kids. My kids have each harvested animals. Zane is really excited about harvesting, an animal with his bow this year. My daughter McKenna, she followed me multiple years chasing elk with a bow and had it to the point where she's had screaming bulls run in front of her. And there probably is an age that you take on those long day hunts, but I have pictures of my kids bugling bulls when they were 7, 8, 6. I would just take them on the little hunts, get to where I could get to, do a little walk up the canyon, even if it's 100 yards. I don't think that there is an age, as long as you're not taking them really hardcore backcountry hunting. And some kids can take that. I mean, Zane followed me from the time, he shot his first animal when he was 10. So I've always just tried to incorporate them and listen to them and watch them. And, I wanted them to grow up with the fact that, they can do whatever they want to do. And I just kind of let them follow. Last year, Zane went with me and he packed a pack and a bow for the first time. And, he stayed with me every step of the way. I took him on a big backcountry hunt opening weekend and he didn't complain. He was right there. I happened to call in one of the biggest public land bulls I've seen in Idaho. And he was about 8 yards to my right, kneeling down. And he watched it all unfold. And unfortunately, I didn't get an arrow in that bull as much as I was hoping to. But the bull picked up on some kind of movement and stopped right behind a tree. And when the bull finally leaves and takes off, I walk up to him and he's like, "Dad, why didn't you shoot? He was broadside to me. I should have shot him." And, he just having those experiences to pull back on. Life gets busy for kids. And I think the younger you can get them loving the sport and really, integrating them in, shooting your bow in the backyard or, at the bow shop or wherever you're at. And then, taking them and letting them experience a little taste of that, really locks in, their passion for it, just like mine and yours.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so cool. Okay. So today I just moved to Texas from the state of Washington, relocated my family for a little bit more of freedom in my life. Raise those boys red-blooded American. With that being said, I've always been a fisherman, trout fishing, salmon fishing, fly fishing, your modern Northwestern style fishing. Well, I live in the South now, and it is a total different ballgame. And my middle child can, and he's like, "Dad, can you take me fishing?" And I'm like, "Yeah." "Dad, can you take me fishing?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "Let me get a grasp on how to actually fish down here." So we took the kids. We took the kids fishing today, and let me just say, in 103-degree heat, and 3 little kids with lines getting tangled left and right, we caught our very first channel catfish today. With hot dogs off the bottom of the lake. And it was really cool and frustrating. And I was just like, I really need to work on my patience as a father.
Yep.
I don't.
It's a huge patience game.
Yeah. Talk. Do you got any tips?
The one thing that's great is, with learning patience with your kids, hunting is a game of patience. And, I will say, I heard, I was at an Eastman's event a couple weeks ago, and Brian Barney pitched out some really good advice in one of his, little demonstrations and talks. And he said, he always lets the animal make the last move. And so many times we, are always trying to push it a little bit too far. And so I guess this is a good lesson for you and even your kids is you have more patience with your kids out there and you just let them have fun. It's pretty hard to get hurt, fishing on the, wherever you were fishing or up in the mountains. But, I guess it just kind of prepares you when you go to hunting season and, you have that patience level with them. You just apply that to hunting and, you really take a little more patience when you hunt and slow down.
Yeah. I found today like the self-talk, right? Constantly.
Oh yeah.
Like, how am I going to do this? The balance of them having some sort of success fishing and take this into hunting or just the outdoors versus me like supporting them enough that they're not learning. Does that? Do you know what I mean? It's like, hey, instead of telling the kid,
man.
shh.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there are many times, I'm just like, wow, I'm not taking my kids ever hunting again. But, when you get back and you hear the kids talk about it and you hear your kids talk about how cool it was and seeing the catfish and touching it, and I'm assuming you guys are going to eat it, having that really makes it worth it, because you don't remember, in a couple days you won't remember the patience piece. You're going to remember the kids, and the excitement, and then telling their friends and telling their mom and telling grandma and grandpa, and you hear all that excitement in your voice, and it gives you a little bit of energy to be like, all right, I got it, I got this, I can do it again. And you just keep doing it again and doing it again.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it. I'm getting motivated. Today was a little
Yeah.
bit of a struggle.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. I was like, all right, we got to have baby wins. I was told one time, inch by inch is a cinch, mile by mile may take a while, but inch by inch is a cinch. Just like, baby steps, baby wins, small victories, and rock and roll that way.
Did they each get a chance to try to reel?
So one of them caught the catfish, and he got to
Nice.
reel it in himself. The other one, we caught a turtle.
No way.
Yes, we were bottom fishing, and we reeled in a turtle, so we were able to get that
So
off.
is that in an aquarium in his room now, or what?
Right. No, that guy, we let him go back into the lake, but I was really shocked, and everyone was like, "What the heck? Like, this isn't fighting like a fish."
That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Turtle fishing.
So tell me more about your journey. You were raised by your father. He took you out when you were young. It was, high school football.
Well, my mom and dad, raised. My grandfather had a guiding outfitting business, and I just hunted every second I could through college. And as I transitioned out of college life, I settled between Boise and McCall. I lived in McCall for a few years, but my background is architecture in college, and really what my first love was. My dad was, the shop teacher and art teacher and AutoCAD teacher and draftsman and architecture teacher in high school. So, I learned a love for building first. That's what I did through, college. It was, frame homes and concrete and everything. So, I every chance I got, whether I was in college or working, September was my month where, you know, I was out in the woods. October was my month when I was out in the woods, and I'm a big archery guy. That's what my dad really enjoyed, and he shot his last elk at 83 on public land. So I've always been drawn to archery. It's such a rush when you have big bulls coming in screaming, or you put a stock on a big mule deer. So that, once I got, out of college life and into working, I worked in the, you know, building architectural housing industry for a little over 18 years. And I had this opportunity with Cryptech through another company that I was working with. And that's how I got started. Started doing some consulting and doing shows for them. And now today, 10 years with the company, I've done about everything inside of Cryptech. But, it was my passion that probably really drove for gear in general. You can, I guess, call me a gear whore, but I love gear. I love packs. I love flashlights. I love technical fabrics and clothing. And, I got a really cool education through this process to be able to travel, around the world and find the best fabrics. Really listen to, the technologies and what they're talking about. And, that's where I, took a lot of my attention to detail from the architectural world into, the making of the clothing. We all know that, cotton has a purpose, but it's not meant for the backcountry.
Right.
So listening to the different combinations of fabric and how they work, and how you can incorporate, different fabrics to work together to get, a specific intent. And each of our pieces of our clothing, are designed with intent. You have rain gear, that's meant to keep you dry, and you have hot weather gear that's meant to keep you cool. And finding all those technologies and fabrics in between for each purpose, out in the woods to really keep you comfortable, to be able to let you stay out that 1, 2, 5, 20% longer, you'll become more successful.
Yeah.
And, I killed my first deer with a bow in blue jeans and a t-shirt. So do you need camo? No, but there's those situations where, it really comes into play when you're in Alaska, you're in BC, you're in harsh environments in Azerbaijan, and there it really comes into play when you're spending extended periods of time out in the woods, and the environments are cold or wet or even hot. It really helps.
Man, that is awesome. It was fun getting to talk with you at the Hunt Expo when I was asking about the difference in the gators specifically, and you were talking about this, the concept of technical versus durability versus
Yep.
longevity, or however that works. You want to talk a little bit about that for the listeners?
Yeah, there's a fine line there, because when you get overly durable, you're not technical, right? And when you're overly technical, most of the times you're not durable. And so, I've always tried to really focus on where those two meet, not get overly technical, or overly durable. Now, there's times like we have a pair of gaiters that's made from denier, and it's super technical, but it doesn't breathe super well. So when you're really beating brush and you want to protect your pants, and it's a lot cooler, that's going to be a gaiter. But we also develop, the altitude gaiter with the shoulder fabric that is super technical. And if you run it through the alders, you're going to rip it. But there's that fine line where as you drop over the graph off each side, that you will plan, because we want, specifics in that fabric. And, that technical durability graph is a huge factor of how we have some of our overly technical and just really badass gear today.
That's sweet. Let's talk a little bit about merino wool here for a second, because I love merino. It is epic. You guys make a solid pattern, top and bottom.
Yep.
Great. Highly recommend it. But that graph applies to merino very importantly, that people don't understand.
Yep. I mean, merino wool is one of those things that, is incredible for the backcountry. I mean, you can take one shirt and one bottom with you. You have those antimicrobial technologies. It's going to hold a third of its own water weight. So when you're sweating, it's really designed, to keep your water away from your body, essentially keeping you cool when you need to be cool and warm when you need to be warm. Because you can wear it up to a certain point, in the warmer weather, and it's going to perform. But merino is probably one of the best fabrics that, we have in the hunting industry. The problem is it's not durable. So you can't wear it as an outerwear, very much, or you're going to have holes, and, it's going to wear out really quick. But the softness comes into play, your microns and all of the things that come with merino wool. You can have a really awesome cut, fit, even printed. And if it doesn't have, the right microns and all the factors that come into merino wool, it's going to be itchy. It's not going to feel good. And, ours is, that same thing. We try to, that durability versus technical piece, we try to hit the middle of the graph on that. We don't want it to be too soft, so it, melts in your hand like cashmere, but we also don't, want it too rough to where you don't want to wear it. And we've gone through quite a few iterations with our merino wool. I think we have about the best version that we've ever had. We don't print it anymore. One, most of the time, merino's under your clothes and you don't need to print. Two, it's a cold print process, and it makes it more expensive. It does look better because it matches, kind of like back to your quarterback theme. But it really, it's really about, how it functions. And we did a Henley button on it, and our new series, the Theos merino wool, is a great piece.
Man, I love it. Yeah, I wore it on my spring bear hunt in Idaho this year, and I was like, dude, this is great. So polyesters, I sweat so much that I feel like polyester clothing, I have to throw it away after a while because I can't ever get the stink out of it. And I'm just a stinky dude. I flew home. I flew from Idaho down to Arizona after that spring bear hunt without taking a shower, and I felt so bad.
Cool. I felt bad for the person that had to sit next to you.
Right? Oh, it was brutal. But the thing about the merino is, like you were saying, the thinner you go, the stitching isn't even going to hold up, right?
Correct.
So you're not
there's
just
a certain level of GSM and grams that you run into that, you get too thin, it's not going to last very long. You get too thick, you're going to die of heat, even in colder weather, on the base. And, ours is right in the middle.
Yeah, I love it. So when you are a former um, architect, so do you
Yeah.
see the world in structure, in design?
Yeah, I mean, when I spent a lot of time in product development for Cryptic, and a lot of what I learned in architecture really applied the attention to detail. When we created the altitude line, and you look at the trims and you look at everything that we put into it, and a lot of our products today, Josh has an incredible vision and is great at design. And, when him and I started working on some of our programs together, it was awesome. I mean, we were able to bounce a lot of stuff off each other. And the attention to detail is where that comes in. Just every single detail, the color of the trims, all the features and functions, the zips, the pit zips, all of the little technical facts and features really come into play.
Yeah. Do you take that analytical brain into the field while you're hunting as well?
Sometimes, I think that, everybody nowadays, with all the electronics and looking at maps and being able to fly around peaks in 3D and everything, I think that, has really aided in that for everybody across the board. But, I grew up without any of that. All we had was a flat map, and really more so my dad's knowledge of the mountains, and paying attention to where you're at and what you're doing and where animals live. So, I probably don't use it as much, as, a lot of the people do today, just because I learned from basic map reading, understanding where, animals hang and live. And, you know, it does fall through a little bit. I've got some hunting partners that I grew up with. My best friend, I still hunt with him, and we have a trip every year we go on, and they pretty much just let me take charge, and I lay out our hunts, and I lay out where we're going. And every night before we go to bed, it's like, "Hey, Sparks, where are we going in the morning?" I'm like, "I'll tell you in the morning." And I'll lay there and think about, where we were today and what animals we came in, and if they need a rest, or, where I found animals before, or where I scouted and found animals in early seasons. So yeah, a little bit of that probably plays through. They just kind of sit back and let me do my thing.
I love it. You ever take personality tests before?
Yes, I have.
What do you fall under, or how do you classify yourself?
I'm a DI, so I like to lead. My personality really comes out, and I like to be the one that's laying out the plan, so it just fits my personality.
Yeah, I love it. So I actually took AutoCAD in high school. I was
Oh,
planning
yeah.
on doing a little structural engineering and going into design, and then I realized it's not really what I want. I was also playing sports, and you know,
Sure.
the sports and the computers and the type of people in which those worlds at the time, they didn't really like. A lot of my friends that played sports weren't in those classes with me, and I was having a struggle of like
Oh,
conflict
for
of,
sure.
yeah, who am I?
Yeah, yeah. No, I can definitely see that. I spent countless of hours of my life in 24-hour periods buried in AutoCAD. And that it's really cool to create things. And I guess that's why I really got into loving the design of products, and the all the technical features and stuff, because it's just another type of design.
Yeah,
And it works either way. I don't sit in front of a computer and draw anymore. It's sit in a computer and do a lot of other things. But we do it because we get those chances to go out and you know do as much of it as we can in the mountains.
I love it. So going with the personality test, I was doing a leadership training, and there was
Yeah,
it was broken. You had to go to the corner of the room in which you thought you were, and then afterwards you took a test to like see if you were sitting in the right group. And I remember being like, okay, I think I'm going to go sit in this group, and it was the promoter group. They called it the promoters.
sure.
And what I realized, well, I don't want to jump ahead. So the point of this is everyone in the room said, all right, in your groups, you guys need to plan an event. You get to plan the event however you want, whatever. Do it and talk. And I'm sitting in my group, and these people are sitting around in a circle, and they're like, all right, this is going to be the best event. We're going to bring in all sorts of headliners. We're going to, get it on radio and spread the word and all this. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, but you're not planning any details. Where's the meat and potatoes? Where's the details? And so then at the end, we also had to present the what our plan was, our event, to the whole group. And I sat there and I looked over at the analyzers, and they're like, the event's going to be on Saturday, July 25th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. We're going to have blah, blah. And I was like, dude, that's where, why doesn't my group have those answers? Because that's what I was looking for. I realized I was sitting in the wrong group the entire time. I'm over in the analyzer group, just like, yes, give me details. Let me know. Let me concrete myself. And I think that's the beauty of hunting, is that it captures all the different personality styles and meshes it into one, because you can't just be an analyzer. Otherwise, you're going to never make progress, because you're going to analyze yourself to death.
You're going to have a good sleeping bag, and you're going to have a really cool camp, but you're probably going to be sitting in camp.
Totally. And at the same time, you can't just be a promoter and be like, oh, guys, this trip's going to be epic, but never actually confirm with your buddies the dates and the times and, did you get work off, or who's driving and all this stuff. So it's really, that's why I love hunting, and why I think it's so transforming for people, and why I constantly want to spread my mission of mentorship is conservation, is because people's lives will be transformed when they get to experience all that hunting provides. That everything that it sharpens you, and it really calls you out in a lot of your shortcomings as well. And it's like, all right, time to go back to the drawing board and take a look at how I view life and how I'm viewing hunting and all this.
Well, the cool part about hunting is it fits everybody's personality, right? You can be patient and sit on a ridge and glass for hours, or you can go chase screaming bulls and get them to come in, or you can spot and stalk screaming bulls. I mean, there's so many different opportunities that anyone with any personality obviously can take, what they like or want, and become successful. You want to be an archery hunter? You can, shoot an animal with a bow. You want to shoot long range? You can be precise, and, you can shoot out to 600 yards now pretty easily. It's so cool to see, how hunting really encompasses everybody. And I've, being part of the industry now and being part of hunting my entire life, have seen it transform so many people. There's so many things about it that are incredible. If you want to solo hunt, you can solo hunt. You want to hunt with a group of guys, you get that brotherhood. There's so many pieces and parts of hunting that, can touch everybody.
Yeah, I agree. For me, my biggest thing is I had to build courage. I was afraid to be in the woods alone, like big time. And that's why, my mission for me is so powerful, because the very first animal I killed was a black bear. And I remember being in the woods, being scared to death. I was like, I don't want a bear to come into my camp at night and come get me in my tent. And I'm like, wait, no. That's the whole point. That would make this easier.
Yeah, right. I mean, then you start getting into types of animals, and bear hunting is one of those, especially black bear, that people, they just think that they're king of the jungle, kind of, like a lion or, a brown bear. And it's not like that. Most people don't see black bears when they're even out hiking, because they're smart. They have incredible keen senses, and you don't get to see them. So, experiencing all those things, whether it's bear or elk, deer, African animals, all around the world, each one of them are a different experience. And, courage, definitely. I think that's a good one for especially a lot of people. I'm sure that keeps a lot of people, especially new hunters, from coming, and trying it. Just having that courage to even pick up a gun or ask the question, or go to a bow shop or a gun shop and start that process.
Yeah, I totally agree. Lack of knowledge is something that is killing society. In the Bible, the quote the Bible, it talks about, the people will perish for lack of knowledge. And so it's like, dude, it's time to ground ourselves and know and believe, and not just say, oh, I like this because I heard somebody say it, or I heard somebody do this. It's like, no, I know it because I know it. I know it because I lived it. I know it because I experienced it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the great thing about your podcast. There's a lot of great podcasts and a lot of people, that I know now that are doing things to try to help and educate. And there's an abundance of knowledge out there, right? These little things that we have in our hand, our computer at our desk, you can find it, but now you have to apply it. And, hunting makes you apply it. If you want to be successful, you have to apply it, or you have to have somebody that knows how to apply it to teach you. And, there's not a better place in the world to learn than out in the mountains.
Yeah, it challenges your soul for sure. Not to,
Oh,
throw it
highest
out.
of the highs, the lowest of the lows.
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it. Big time. Okay.
I'm going to ask you a couple questions. What's your favorite animal to hunt?
Oh, black bear, hands down. August bear hunting for me. Well, because it's my first love, right? So I was coaching high school football, and high school football in the state of Washington started like August 16th, and I used to backpack every summer the first couple weeks of August, whether it was the Pacific Crest Trail or the Wonderland Trail around Mount Rainier. And then I learned that bear season opened August 1st. And I was like, dude, I can do the exact same hikes I was doing, but carry a gun.
15 days.
Yes. And so that's how Washington backcountry came to be, because I was in the backcountry hunting the only animal that I felt like I could actually dedicate time to, because high school football and being a school teacher, it's hard to take weeks off in September when school just started or football season's going. And so bear hunting is my first true love. After that, I just love hunting. Elk, I've experienced one screaming bull elk, and it died, and it's hanging on my wall, and I love it, and it tasted great, but I need to experience that more. But I love predator hunting. I think hunting things that in theory could hunt you is like the ultimate jam.
Sure. Wolf hunting, I think it's one of the harder animals to hunt in North America, just because you give them a opposable thumb and an abstract thought, and we would probably be extinct.
They're killers, man. They're good.
Yeah, predator hunting is, it's awesome, and it's also, really what's needed, right, for part of conservation.
Yeah,
and that's the piece of spreading, all of that information out, even to non-hunters, that hunting predators to keep our animals in check, also having predators there to keep animals in check. There's, it's all plays into conservation.
Yeah.
But predator hunting, coyotes, wolves, one of my bucket list hunts is a brown bear with a bow.
Yes.
That would be the ultimate. I know that Josh is getting ready to head back over to Africa and hunt leopard, and I think he's up to 40-something hours waiting, and I guess that would be an amazing rush as well. But yeah, predator in general is a lot of fun. I like hunting spring bear. I spent a ton of time hunting spring bears in tree stand and ground blind. In fact, all three of my kids were able to take bears, and it's a rush. I mean, hunting in general, but a bear, you have to be so quiet. At least, the way we hunt, we do a lot of bait in Idaho because we still can, and sitting for hours in the cold in the spring, trying to keep kids quiet and feel, all those things, because their senses are just so heightened. And then of course, trying to take them with a bow, just brings that much more to it. But predator hunting is a blast. I've been taking my kids and my buddies, and I hadn't shot a black bear in 13 years because, I shot quite a few out of the gate. And then everybody's like, well, I want to go bear hunting. And then my kids got old enough and they wanted to go bear hunting. And so this year I shot a really cool colored phased bear.
That's awesome. That is awesome. You're going to have to send me a picture of that. I can't wait to take a look. Yeah, I think I just want to hunt. I don't really care what it is. I was always a gun enthusiast. I'm a Second Amendment supporter before, I love public lands, but I don't believe public lands would ever be around if we get rid of the Second Amendment. And so I support Second Amendment before anything else. And so I just really want to hunt. I love using guns for the purpose. That's one of the things, like gun safety. We could go down this whole rabbit hole, but you can't do every job with a flathead screwdriver. You can't do every job with a framing hammer. You have to have different tools, and guns and weapons are the different tools for the jobs. And the fact that people do not understand that lack of knowledge. People perish. It's you know.
You hit the nail on the head there. But you're right. I didn't know a ton about long range shooting when I came to Cryptic, and I've been able to take a bunch of courses, and it's incredible that the ability that you can take an animal now with a rifle. I've taught my kids that, and none of them have taken anything with a bow yet, but firearms in general back into hunting, there's so many different options. Optics make a huge deal. Your gun, your caliber, everything. There's so many different calibers out there. There's really not a wrong answer in most scenarios, but having the ability to steal what we get to do today with guns or bows is it's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so let's go back to your father and what he was an outfitter. So did you learn?
My grandfather was an outfitter. My dad was a school teacher. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So did you pull away any like major tips or like, hey, grandson, son, remember this? Like aha moments for you for hunting?
Probably more than I can even talk about, but patience is a big one, just the whole back into patience thing, but there's so many lessons to be learned out there. And with my kids, archery hunting wise, I think that, not always looking at success being a harvest, but actually success being that you're out there, you're spending time with your friends, you're spending time with your buddies. Success can be defined different ways, but enjoy the journey, not the destination. So it's awesome. I've taken some good animals, and that they're it's incredible to have that fulfilling experience when you walk up on a big bull or a nice mule deer, a big bear, any of that. But really remembering that the journey is part of it, man. I have some of the best memories of my life with my dad in the mountains, just spending time together, bonding. My best friend, I've got a couple of hunting partners that, we go on hunts every year just because it's like, hey, we, that time in the mountains is important. It feeds my soul. Like you said, it feeds yours. I mean, it's part of who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. So patience, there's a reason why they say it's a virtue, right? It doesn't necessarily come natural. Besides patience, do you think you could list off maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 other things where it's like, okay, remember this, son? I'm putting you on the spot there. I didn't prep you.
There's probably, there's a lot of them. And I'm sure if I had a couple minutes to think about, 2 years ago, and my dad passed away, and I had all kinds of answers for you. Determination's a big one. Really your equipment, knowing your equipment really well, understanding it. When I was little, I had a target in my backyard. We had, a lot of property. And so I was able to shoot. And I remember, my dad would always tell me, if you don't practice, 100+ days a year, you're not going hunting. And I remember the first time really is the last time my dad left me home. I was probably 10 years old, and I can call elk. It was something that I feel like I kind of got gifted with. I'm a pretty good elk caller, and mostly because I just had a passion for it. I love hunting elk. And so when I was 10 and 11, I could bugle with my voice. And, I remember spray painting my old bear compound bow because it was white at the time, and I'd spray painted it. And, I'd gone through my dad's box and pulled out old broadheads and put them on my bow, and I had my camo laid out. I had everything ready to go. And, my dad, I knew he was, a lot of times, he didn't say a whole lot. He taught by example, and I would just watch him. And I remember that I'm very vivid memory. My sisters had some play that they were in, and my mom's like, okay, we got to go watch your sisters play. And I'm like, well, I'm going hunting with dad. And she's like, yeah, let's go watch your sisters play. And I get there and I realize that my dad's not there. And he had left because, back to that, can you take a younger kid hunting? It makes it that much harder, especially with a bow. And I remember I cried my eyes out when I got home because my dad had left and gone hunting, and they came back successful. And I was so mad. So, really making sure that, I guess, all of your equipment is up to par and you're ready to go. Even though I was ready to go, I didn't get to go.
Yeah.
But that was the last time, that I ever remember, my dad ever leaving me behind. It didn't matter whether we were duck hunting at 4 a.m. He would come in and be like, hey, he had a rule. He'd tell me one time, and if I didn't get up, he'd leave me. And he never left me because, most of the time it was anticipation, especially opening day of elk or opening day of duck and goose or opening day of rifle mule deer or something. It was like reliving Christmas morning, 6, 7 times a year, because you get to go out and hunt the animals that you just love to chase.
Oh man, so true. I love the idea of the preparation. Know your gear. I just recently down here in Texas went to. I need to build community. I need to get connected down here because I don't know anyone. And I ran into another father at a grocery store wearing a backpack that had
up on fathers in the grocery store.
Yeah, it was pushing a little race car, grocery cart, and started talking. Anyways, he was into guns. I'm into guns, hunting, all this stuff. So he invited me to a shoot the next morning. And I was like, sweet. And it was my first time ever going and doing holster training. Like, it was a self-defense pistol course.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Holy smokes. I thought that I would be good. Like, I've shot. But if you don't fall forward. You always fall back on your training. If you have never tried drawing a pistol out of a holster and shooting your target with crunch time, like, under 5 seconds, 3 seconds, whatever, it is way more difficult than you expect. And then that's just like self-defense. But if you take that and apply it to hunting, you have to be honed in your craft, especially if you're going to take the life of another animal.
Absolutely. Practice, right? Whether it's, long range shooting, whether it's archery, and self-defense. I mean, lots of practice, lots of reps, knowing your equipment, making sure you're prepared, and not only prepared with your equipment, but mentally prepared.
Yeah. My oldest son tonight, we're in the backyard and he's getting to the age where Red Ryder BB guns coming out, and hey, there's tons of grasshoppers down here, and he's like, Dad, can I shoot some grasshoppers? And there's a bird in the tree. He's like, Dad, can I shoot the bird? And I go, not yet. I don't think you're ready to take a life. And he kind of looked at me and was like, okay, whatever, and went on. But that's the whole thing. Like, you have to mentally prepare for everything. And
sure,
it's a lot. And I told the podcast episode that released on Monday, I talked about not losing focus of the task at hand. You got to make sure you stay focused on what you're doing, because it's very easy to get distracted, and we don't want that to happen, because a lot of bad things can happen from that. So,
yeah, the good part about, really practicing whatever you hunt, whatever weapon you have, however you do it, is it becomes muscle memory. And, whether it's long range shooting, looking at these courses and what they teach, and in the crunch time, you don't have really much time to think, you have time to react. And so knowing how to, take your scope and dial your dope, shoot your yardages, everything, making sure your gun's off safety, everything across the board. And then you roll into archery when you draw your bow, it becomes muscle memory. I had one of my buddies the other day ask me, he's like, hey, when you shot that bear, what was going through your head? And I said, I don't remember. Everything was just muscle memory. You just go into automatic mode. And that's, I guess where a lot of practice comes in. If you haven't, practiced and you haven't mentally prepared yourself, and you have to start thinking, that's, where you have mistakes, or you don't, really take that opportunity and harvest, or, all the cool things that come along with it.
Yeah. So you're a big archery guy, right?
Yeah.
So do you find yourself practicing at longer distances more often because you believe that stepping your way into killing an animal is always going to be a lot easier if you're practicing at further distances?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to know your limit, for one, but shooting at 80 yards and trying to shoot tighter groups, it takes way more concentration. And even with the equipment today, we had a family reunion a couple weeks ago, and a lot of my family members shoot, my brother-in-laws and my sons. And, one thing I'd never done was really shooting that low light. And we had a little balloon on a target, and we were shooting 80 yards, and we have lots of properties. So we have a big backstop and everything. And it's crazy how much the concentration goes from 80 yards in daytime to you just have a flashlight on the target and you're trying to shoot the same thing. So I think different distances and different scenarios, I think, really help.
Yeah, I love that. Um, Man, there is so much that I want to keep this podcast going. I think after the first, what was it, Hunt Expo 2 years ago, I wanted to get you on the podcast, and then I don't know what happened. COVID apparently happened, and then
Yep.
I never did. This is something that I want to make sure you come back on the podcast multiple times because you've been a phenomenal guest. Justin, what do you think hunting has done for you?
It's given me a life, really. I mean, not only a career, but a life. You know, I can tell when I haven't been out in the woods and hunting, consistently because I kind of grumpy and ornery, but hunting is, it's really given me life. It's that passion, back into not only hunting, but conservation and, preparation, and then really a career where I work at Cryptic, and, it's really hunting has given me a life.
Man, I love that. Do you find yourself having, maybe Cryptek's different, but do you find yourself having a harder time getting out into the field because you work in the hunting industry?
Yes and no. I mean, we've been so busy with all the things that we're working on in a growing business. You get to that point where you're like, man, we really got to plan strategic this year. But there's also tons of opportunities to get back out there and hunt. I've hunted with a lot of cool people and hunted a lot of places around the world because of it. So yes and no.
Man, that's so cool. Well, when you want to go to Alaska, I want to go with you. We'll make it an episode of Soul Seekers, and we'll talk all about that learning experience of what it's like to face down a bear with your bow.
Yeah, that's definitely a bucket list of mine. That's going to be an incredible hunt sometime soon. That'll take a lot of preparation mentally too, I think. I've talked to a lot of people. I remember reading articles a lot about Chuck Adams, who's a big bow hunter, and some of the animals that he killed, and reading the stories about his brown bear hunts, and talking with people that have actually shot him with a bow, and it really intrigues me. It's going to be a lot of fun when I get there.
Yeah. I don't know. Do brown bears death moan like black bears?
That's a good question. We had a death moan this year that sent just goosebumps up my arms. My buddy shot one, and I've never heard a death moan like that. It was three big, long, loud, and the bear only went 15 yards. He'd had a double long perfect shot, and man, can they death moan. It is the eeriest sound.
It is crazy.
Everything in the forest just stops. The birds stop. It seems like the wind stops. Like you just sit there, and I just turned and looked at him, and we both just kind of looked at each other and went, wow, I've never heard that. But I assume they do.
Yeah. It's something you don't forget. Like you hear that and you're like, nothing can ever match that. So, Justin, you are a savage, brother. I am honored to have you on this podcast. It's so much fun building community with you. How can people, I don't know, maybe get a hold of you, get a hold of Cryptek? What would you like to promote?
We have an awesome sales team now. If you have questions on Cryptic, we've got a great sales team that answer the phone. We've got a chat online they can ask questions on. And then if anybody, wants to get a hold of you and has some specific questions, you can link us up by email. But we have a lot of resources, either by phone into, our sales customer service team, on gear, on ordering. If there's other questions that they can't answer, something comes in specific to you, you can direct it back to me. But really love educating people, not only on gear, but just in hunting in general.
I love it. I love it. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. If you liked it, please share it, subscribe, go rate it. All that helps the Soulful Hunter and everything that we're doing grow and promote that. Remember, you cannot outgive good, people. This world, it revolves around love, and mentorship is just loving somebody. It's investing in the life of someone else, and you can't outgive good. Hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure, and you can be the spark that starts that fire in somebody's soul. Be blessed. Thank you so much for tuning in this episode. I'm Johnny Mack. Freedom on, and stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast, I'd love it if you could go ahead and give this a rating as well as subscribe. Also, you can check us out on Instagram under the Soulful Hunter Podcast. Make sure to tag us in pictures and posts and use the hashtag Soulful Hunter. To find out more about the Soulful Hunter Podcast, go to soulfulhunter.com and be sure to follow the podcast as we are going to be bringing you a lot of great information, insight, and changing lives through Primal Adventure. I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. Stay tuned and stay soulful. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Johnny Mac here. Just wanted to give you a heads up that if you are looking for a community that is open to discussion as far as mentorship, conservation, the wild, becoming a better person, and all of that, there is a group for you on Facebook, and it is called Soul Seekers. Soul Seekers, we are all about making ourselves a better person. We're all about making sure hunting lasts for generations to come and encouraging people to get plugged in. Whether you are someone who has something to give or someone who needs to soak it up like a sponge, this is a community for you, and I strongly encourage you that if you're on Facebook to join Soul Seekers, and if you're not on Facebook, hop on there just for that group. It is only going to be as powerful as we all make it. And so just remember that life happens for you, it doesn't happen to you, and that you can't outgive good. You can't outgive good, people. I want you to understand that, and I want you to believe it, because when we believe that and we lead with courage and we lead with intention, lives are changed, lives are transformed, just like on this podcast, transformation through Primal Adventure. Be blessed. Enjoy this episode. Talk soon.